You wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't steal a purse. You wouldn't steal a television. Downloading illegal movies is stealing. Piracy is a crime. If you grew up in the 90s, this is what you saw on the VHS tapes at home, just before you watched the movie. And to tell you the truth, this advertisement is deceiving. It's lying to you. Because copying something is not stealing. If you have a manuscript that you wrote for a book, and you have the only copy, and I take it from you, and you don't have it anymore, that is stealing. If, on the other hand, I make a copy of that manuscript without you looking, and then I start selling those copies for my own profit, I'm breaking the copyright law. But I have not stolen anything from you. Copying does not equal stealing. Tonight, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests, I will not make arguments for or against the copyright law. But I will try to convince you that the concept of copyright has been misused in the recent decades for the benefit of companies and to the detriment of society in general. So first, let's go back to the beginnings of copyright. What was it meant to do? In 1921, the Canadian government has introduced the first copyright law in the country. And the purpose of that law was to protect professional authors from other professionals who stood to gain something from that artist's work. So at the time, it was only companies like publishers, record labels, broadcasting stations, and later pirates who took the works of art or intellect and shared them with people for profit. That was simple. And the system worked, and it still does work, for things like books. So if you go home tonight and you look at a book that's been published recently, for example, Harry Potter, you'll notice that at the front or at the back it says, copyright by J.K. Rowling. The author holds the copyright. But it's not the same for other media formats. For example, if you look at the back of a CD or a DVD, it will say, copyright by Universal Recording Label, copyright by 20th Century Fox. So nowadays, companies hold the copyright to works of art or intellect that have been created by an author. And it is these companies that the law was supposed to protect against. It's a little strange. Now, the second reason why copyright exists is to encourage artists to create new works of art. It's sort of a contract between society and the artist. We will give you some time to make a profit, but we assume that you will make more and more of your creations. Now, something has changed in the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s because the end users started copying things. It wasn't just to the companies anymore, but we started making those mixtapes, we started ripping the CDs, and we started to share music and videos on the web. And the companies, they said, hold on guys, you can't do that. The law says you can't make copies. But the law was designed to protect companies against other companies. It was not designed to be used to apply it against the population. And when you start applying those laws to the population, you get some funny results. So for example, until recently, in Canada, if you bought a CD from a store legally, and you made a copy of that CD for your MP3 player so you can listen to it when you went to school, you would break in the copyright law. You would break in it for every song that you copied onto your MP3 player. It's ridiculous. The laws have changed in the last 2 years, but up to that point, you couldn't do it legally. Another example, the Happy Birthday song. Everybody knows? Happy Birthday. It's protected under the copyright law. You cannot sing that song in the public. It's illegal. It's strange, isn't it? Now you might say, wait a minute. The Happy Birthday song. I mean, it's like 100 years old. It was published in 1900. How in the world can it still have copyright protection? It's been more than 100 years. Well, that's actually a good question. If we go 200 years back, the copyright was given for only 30 years. Fast forward to now, in Canada, we give copyright to the author's life. So while the author is living, he holds the copyright. Plus 50 years on top of that. Now let me remind you that the purpose of copyright law is to encourage artists to create new works of art or intellect. But once the author is dead, there is literally no incentive in the world that will compel that author to write anything more, because they're dead. The free trade agreement between Canada and Europe is promising lots of great economic benefits to our country. However, one of the detriments is that Canada will raise the copyright term by another 20 years. I think you will agree that giving a term of copyright that is the life of the author plus 70 years is not beneficial to society, nor is it beneficial to the author. The only beneficiaries of these laws are companies that bully us by trying to sue great amounts of population and not actually going through with those lawsuits. Companies that try to tell us not to share, not to build on the existing work. So next time there's an election in Canada, I hope we can make fair copyright part of the agenda. Otherwise, we may end up in a society where sharing is criminal. Thank you very much.